Okay, so we have all our ingredients ready for the first portion of this soup, for the stock. The soup, you could do the soup over 2 days, making the stock on day 1 and then finishing off the soup on day 2, which is a nice way to do it because then on day 2 it just comes together really easy and it's really quick. But you could do it all in 1 day as well if you want. So we have all our ingredients ready just for the stock right here. We have our medium diced onion, our medium diced carrot, our bay leaves, our medium diced celery, our tablespoon of olive oil, salt, and we have our 2 chicken breasts with the back on and bone in, and I'm going to cut them crosswise before we put them in the soup, but that's what we have there. And then our chicken broth or our vegetable broth. Now if you don't have chicken or vegetable broth from last time's soup, you may still have some chicken or vegetable bouillon, and you're more than welcome to use that. Just use water, then a liter of water per 1 bouillon cube or 1 teaspoon of bouillon. You might have to adjust if it's not flavorful enough. You can add a little bit more. But for me, I just find it easier just to use the packaged vegetable or chicken broth, and I'll use 3 liters of that. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to add the oil to our large pot, our large heavy stock pot. If you have a Dutch oven, that's great too. We want to wait for the oil to heat up just a little bit here, and then we're going to add our carrots, our celery, and our onions. We don't want any of that to brown. We just want we don't want these to brown. We just want to be sweating these until they get a little bit tender. So we're going to be constantly mixing them in the pan until they get tender for about 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, it's been 5 or 10 minutes that our mirepoix has been in the pot, and we've just been sweating our vegetables for that 5 or 10 minutes, and so they're nice and tender. So now we can add the rest of our ingredients, and then we're going to let it simmer, cover it, and let it simmer for about 20 minutes. So we're going to be adding our vegetable stock or our chicken stock, whatever you have, to our pot. We've got 3 liters of that to add in. We've got our salt, our 2 bay leaves, and we'll be adding in our chicken as well. And I just cut the chicken crosswise, the 2 chicken halves, so I've got 4 pieces of chicken in here. And once that's all in, we're going to cover that and reduce it to medium heat and put the lid on, and we'll let that simmer for about 20 minutes. Okay, so my chicken stock has been simmering here for about 30 minutes now, and so I'm going to take the chicken out. So if you open it up and yours isn't boiling yet, if your stock isn't boiling, then make sure you bring it up to a boil first. But mine's boiling nicely over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take out the chicken pieces, and I'm just going to set them on a tray over here. Now those chicken pieces, what we're going to do with those is because I'm going to make the rest of the soup tomorrow, I'm just going to wrap those up and put them in the fridge. So I'm just going to take out my 4 pieces and then wrap up the chicken and put it in the fridge. Now when I strain my soup, I like to have my extra pot and my colander my metal strainer. I like to have that in the sink because if I get a little bit messy, then it's just going to slop a little bit in the sink rather than all over my counter. Okay? So I'm just going to take my soup and I'm just going to pour it into the strainer so that it strains all down into the pot underneath it. You just give your vegetables, your onions, a little bit of a press there. You can get all those nice juices out into our stock. And then once we've done that, we're just going to let our stock rest for about, 5 or 10 minutes until the fat comes to the top, and then we're going to skim off a little bit of the fat. Everything that we have strained from the stock, all these vegetables, onions, and the bay leaves, these can now just be discarded and thrown out into your garbage. We're done with those for now. Tomorrow we'll add a few more vegetables into our broth, and we'll add the cooked chicken and some noodles, and we'll have a fabulous soup tomorrow. Okay, so my soup has just been sitting for a little bit and the fat has just come up to the top a little bit, so we're just going to start scooping a little bit of the fat off the top. You don't need to take all the fat off. Gives it lots of extra flavor if you leave some in there, but we'll just take a little bit of the fat that's come off on there. Now we're just going to put a lid on the soup and we're going to put it in the fridge so that it's ready for tomorrow when we put everything together with the egg noodles and the vegetables and the chicken back in there for tomorrow. Okay, so here we have all of our materials that we need, all our ingredients that we need to finish up the soup today. We've got our 1 tablespoon of fresh parsley that's minced. You could use dry parsley as well if you want. Our julienned onions, our carrots that were sliced on a diagonal, our egg noodles, the chicken from yesterday, the diced potatoes, and the diced celery as well. And on the stove we have our broth, so we can get started once we've got all our prep work done. Okay, I have my pot of soup, the stock from yesterday, and I've skimmed off some of the fat. I've got my stove on medium-high, and now I'm going to add my my diced potatoes, my carrots, my celery, and my julienne onions. Now I'm going to let those cook for about 10 to 15 minutes until the potatoes are almost fully cooked. We don't want them quite fully cooked because we have to add the egg noodles yet, and then we're going to add the chicken as well. So if we cook everything to perfection before we add the egg noodles and before we add the chicken, then our potatoes are going to be a little bit too soft. So while that's sitting, we're going to go over and we're going to take the skin and the chicken off of the bone so that the chicken is ready to be used in the soup. Okay, now what I have is my chicken from yesterday. And what we're going to do with this is we're just going to remove the skin. We don't want to use the skin in our soup. And we're just going to take the chicken meat from the bone. So I'm just going to pull the chicken meat from the bone and I'm going to discard the bones and the skin. Once you've removed the bone and the skin from the chicken, you can either just take 2 forks and you can pull the chicken apart and then you can have pulled chicken in your soup, or you can just dice it up into nice cubes. And that's what I'm going to do with mine, but if you want to shred yours with a fork, go right ahead, and that works just as well too. So when you're doing this, cut it into pieces, nice bite-sized pieces that you would like your chicken. Not too big, but certainly not too small either. A medium to large dice for this one should be nice. Unless, of course, you want to pull it apart with your forks, and then that's perfect too. Okay, my soup has been cooking for about 10 minutes. My potatoes are almost done. My carrots are still, they're not quite totally done. They're still a little crunchy, which is fine because I need to cook the egg noodles and then add the chicken after the egg noodles are cooked. So my egg noodles said they would take about 3 to 4 minutes to cook, so that's how long I'm going to leave them in for before I add the chicken. Check your package directions for your egg noodles. Some take longer to cook than others, okay? So I'm just going to add my egg noodles in here. And then while that's cooking for about 3 to 4 minutes, we'll wait and then we'll add our chicken. Now, while I was waiting for this to cook for 10 to 15 minutes, we had cut the chicken, but remember at this time you should be cleaning as you go. That's part of a good cook as well as you're cleaning as you go. So you'll notice that I have a sink full of clean dishes here as well. I did have time to clean up, wipe my counters, and get the dishes all cleaned as I went. So make sure you're cleaning as you go as well. Okay, our noodles have been cooking in there for about, mine took about 4 to 5 minutes to get to the right doneness for me. So now I'm going to add all that wonderful chicken that we either shred with a fork or we diced up. I'm going to add that to our chicken noodle soup. And the 1 tablespoon of minced fresh parsley, but you can use dried parsley as well. And we'll just heat that through for about 2 minutes. It shouldn't take too long for the chicken to heat through. And then we should have a wonderful hearty soup.